भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवतसेवया भगवती उत्तमा श्लोके भक्तिर्भवती नैष्टिकी। ॐ ज्ञानातिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपा कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगणरघुनाथं वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपदान् सहगणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितंश्च। हे कृष्ण करुणा सिन्धु दीनबन्धु जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कान्त राधाकान्त नमस्ते। तप्तकाञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौरभक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णविद्याभितरे प्रभुपादप्रिय श्री गिरिराजाय स्वामिने सुभक्तरास बिहारिभ्यं भक्तिवेदान्त। नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णविद्याभितरे श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी नाम। नमस्ते सारस्वती देवी गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादिताचार्य मुखम करोति वाचालं पंगुं लंघयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरो दीनतारिणम्। Hare Krishna. So we are reading from Bhagavad Gita. We are in chapter 6, and we are in text 6. All right, so this is okay. So this is about the mind. So in this section, so Prabhupada discusses that in this yoga system, the principal element in the entire body, the principal element that is utilized is what? Is the mind, right? So now text 5, one must deliver himself with the help of his mind and not degrade himself. The mind is the friend of the conditioned soul and his enemies as well. Text 6. बन्धुरात्मन् आत्मात्मनस्तस्य येनात्मैवात्मना जितः अनात्मनस्तु शत्रुत्वे वर्तेतात्मैव शत्रुवत्. Okay, so this is our mind, which is our enemy, right? For one who has conquered the mind is the best of friends. But for one who has failed to do so, his mind will remain the greatest enemy. All right? So Krishna is speaking to all of us that we should not get dominated by our mind. Purport. The purpose of practicing Bhakti Yoga is to control the mind in order to make it a friend in discharging the human mission. All right, now we need to understand the value of
human life.
yes, right? We need to understand its value. You know how people, they commit suicide in old age, in their 50s and their 60s, right? Are the suffering, comes. Maybe children commit suicide, they are just so much in pain, they think there's no future, right? So let me just finish this, because anyway we are the body, and if I kill the body, everything is over, right? Now, when older men and women commit suicide, this is real total ignorance, right? Absolute, because meaning that we haven't utilized our time to get knowledge. So here, Prabhupada is speaking the mission of human life, meaning that once that Atma sits in that human body, it should ride on that boat and come out without any material body. All right? Now, if you're so foolish, you terminate the gross body, your subtle body, your mind is still carrying you in this material plane, right? So it's useless. So therefore, it is very, very much required that we understand that suicide does not remove your mind. All right? Remove the mind. We are thinking, let me remove the body, and then my mind also will be gone, right? But it's not true. The mind remains. So whatever it may be, whatever suffering we have to go through, we have to just continue. Because when we suffer, what is happening? When we are decreasing our load of karma. All right? And it's going to be easier ahead. So we should know this, and we should understand it, and we should realize it. Because we find so many, there are Hindus or they are devotees, right? They commit suicide, right? Because actually, meaning the knowledge is very superficial, hasn't actually sunk in, right? So the purpose of practicing Eightfold Yoga is to control the mind in order to make it a friend. What for? In discharging the human mission. So if somebody commits suicide when they're in the 50s or their 60s, it means that they haven't controlled the mind. All right? Meaning the mind is continuing to dominate them. And now can you imagine, if they leave the body with an uncontrolled mind, that same wild mind will continue as you take birth. Right? The trauma of your death. Right? Because if you commit suicide, there is high suffering. Because your time is not yet ready, but you are forcing yourself out of the body. Right? So the agents of material nature are going to make sure that you roam around, right?
So the keep haunting, this is like,
Yeah, it's difficult.
they are not released properly.
Yes, they're not released, meaning that the next destination is not ready. You are in transition, right? You're in transition. Meaning that whatever you are undergoing right now, as soon as you take the next birth, that same quota is continuing. So you wonder why children are suffering, why they are born with diseases, right? They're born with cancer. Maybe previous life, they didn't complete their term of cancer, right? So they're born continuing the same thing. Maybe they commit suicide, right? I'm just speaking about when you continue the logic, right? Otherwise, inexplicable. How can a child be born with cancer? What did he eat? What did he inhale? Right? Where did he get exposed? A child, 5 year, 10 year, right? So meaning, and usually these people, they're born already with a defect in them, right? So it's placed, the mechanism continues, so it's placed, and then it's only released in course of time, right? Unless the mind is controlled, the practice of yoga for sure is simply a waste of time, right? One who cannot control his mind lives always with the greatest enemy. One who cannot control his mind lives always with the greatest enemy. So here you are the soul, you are living in a body, right? And that body consists of the mind, and that mind is haunting you, right? So your own mind is your greatest enemy. And thus his life and its mission are spoiled. The constitutional position of the living entity is to carry out the order of the superior. So we are Jeev, right? All of us. See, Prabhupada is saying something very, very simple. He's saying that we are Jeev, and by nature we have to obey the order of the superior. Right? Who's that superior? Krishna, right? As long as one's mind remains an unconquered enemy, one has to serve the dictations of lust, anger, avarice, illusion, etc. But when the mind is conquered, one voluntarily agrees to abide by the dictation of the personality of Godhead, who is situated within the heart of everyone as Paramatma. Real yoga practice entails meeting the Paramatma within the heart and then following his dictation. For one who takes to Krishna consciousness directly, perfect surrender to the dictation of the Lord follows automatically. I just saw, on this YouTube, shorts, people are always talking. So somebody is interviewing one lady who's like an astrologer or something. It was political things. So, so this interview is saying that we thought that Prime Minister Modi, he will lose his post. So very interesting, people speak so many interesting things, but it caught my attention. So this lady said, according to his chart, now understand what we are talking about. According to his destiny or his chart, he's supposed to lose. He's supposed to lose. Okay? The election, he's supposed to lose, and he almost did. Right? He almost did. Then says, how is it that he didn't lose? This lady gave two reasons. He said, number one, people love him so much. All right? His chart is showing loss. All right? What has changed his destiny? All right? Meaning gone beyond the chart. What is your due? Because we are speaking here all about karma. and we just discussed if somebody commits suicide, right? Now, meaning in this life you're supposed to complete your term of karma, but no, it's getting carried forward. So now I'm giving an example of how somebody who's supposed to lose, he still gains, he wins, whatever it may be. Two reasons. So she said, one, people love him so much that they pull him up. All right? Second, he's so dharmic. All right? He's so dharmic. So the law of dharma, yes, meaning that we have no qualification. You follow? According to my own, we have no qualification. But when there is people who we have won the hearts or the goodwill, even when I'm loser, because we are doing good for others. All right? He's doing good. So he got the goodwill of the people, and law of dharma supported him. So again he took another term, but actually his term is over. Follow? According to his chart, his term is over. In the same way, if somebody crooked, all right? This is from Bhagavatam. If somebody crooked happened to sit on the post, he will get pushed off. Not that, okay, this is my term or whatever. No, he will get pushed off. So this mind, if you conquer the mind, you become very powerful. Right? And if you don't conquer the mind, you become extremely weak. Right? You cause your own fall down, and people will make sure that you fall down. Right? I mean, such a science, amazing. So, Kam, Krodh, Lobha, Moha, Matsarya, Mad, these are the enemies of that mind. These are the enemies that pull down the person. Right? So when the mind is conquered, Prabhupada is making a very important statement here. What does Prabhupada say? When the mind is conquered. When mind is conquered, what happened?
Then the practice of yoga is simply a waste of time.
When the mind is see, I'm reading here. Prabhupada said that if the mind is unconquered, it gets harassed by what? Yes. Kam, Krodh, Lobha, Moha, Matsarya, Mad. It gets captured and harassed by these six. And that's why you don't know why you're doing what. Right? You become so greedy. You don't see who's left, right. You just only get him out of the way or get her out of the way. Right? Kam, Krodh, Lobha, Moha, Matsarya, Mad. Okay? Now, if the mind is conquered, what does Prabhupada say?
One voluntarily agrees to abide by the dictation of the Supreme Personality of God.
Yes. All right? So you should know one thing. Abiding by the dictation of the personality of Godhead, what will the Supreme Person of Godhead tell you?
He will guide us.
Yeah, what will he tell you?
Surrender.
Surrender, and therefore engage in his service, and you're willing to do it. All right? This Paramatma is always whispering, right? If you're pushing him aside, you say, I have my program. Right? I've already made my plan. I know what I want to do. Right? But, and why all this? Because The mind is covered with Kam, Krodh, Lobha, Moha, Matsarya, Mad. So I keep on making my own plan. It doesn't work. I become angry. Then let me try more. Then I increase. So I have reached this much goal. Then I say, okay, let's increase more. Then let's increase more, right? Greed, 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 right? Unlimited greed. And that's the cause of my fall down. Whereas, if my mind is conquered, I will ask Krishna, what do you want me to do? Alright? Real yoga practice entails meeting the Paramatma within the heart, meaning that let me think, let me pray, let me ask, what is my duty? What do you want me to do? Because if we are alive, meaning that I should do something, life means I do something, right? For one who takes to Krishna consciousness directly, perfect surrender to the dictation of the Lord follows automatically. See, now like what happened? See, everybody knows this. If you are in your 30s and 40s, you know very well that your plan may or may not work. Alright? 100% when you're 50, you're convinced. Right? Whatever. Any plan you make. Right? If Krishna's sanction happen, doesn't happen. Doesn't sanction, doesn't happen. Right? But when things start moving, alright? When things start moving, then you should know Krishna is making it move. Alright? With all our endeavor. Right? With all our endeavor. It didn't move. But when Krishna decides, yes, let me cooperate. Alright? I'm using this word. Let me fulfill and cooperate with the desire of this jeev. Right?
God bless.
The jiva now, we say, is cooperating with the will of the Supreme Lord. Because the Supreme Lord is examining how determined is this person. Is he or she serious? Or will she give up? Is she doing it or is he doing it for his own personal ambition? Or is he doing it for me? So he's checking, right? We work very hard for who? So when Krishna is convinced, alright, that we are working for him, then he say, okay, let me cooperate. Well, so when we surrender, perfect surrender, so for one who takes to Krishna consciousness directly, what does that mean, take to Krishna consciousness directly? Which is indirect.
Brahma, like white light, indirect. Brahma.
Yeah, this practice of eightfold yoga is the indirect method, right? But the direct method is, I have heard from Guru. Guru says surrender to Krishna because Krishna says surrender to me. And Guru repeats surrender to me. And this is the way you work. You do this seva. You do this, you do this. Right? So, when we are obedient to the spiritual master or to whoever is our authority, then perfect surrender to the dictation of the Lord follows automatically. When we take to Krishna consciousness, perfect surrender to the dictation of the Lord follows automatically. Meaning whatever you are doing, you are following actually Krishna's dictation, and therefore your desire is being fulfilled and you are working for Krishna. Because Krishna says, yes, yes, it's good. We endorse this endeavor. Follow? This is the secret of work. I'll read as much as possible because there's too much with each and every line. जितात्मना प्रसन्नस्य परमात्मा समाहितः शीतोष्ण सुख दुःखेषु तथा मानापमानयोः. For one who has conquered the mind, jita atmanaha, of one who has conquered the mind. So I just hope that at the end of this session, we will start to realize that I have to what? Conquer the mind, right? At least that understanding, that awareness should awaken, right, in our consciousness. And then we have got the whole month to practice, okay? Jita atmanaha, prashantasya, one who has attained tranquility by such control over the mind. So when the mind becomes peaceful, so if we have conquered the mind, meaning that we're not agitated, this is happening, that is happening, this is pushing me, that one is pulling me this side, right? So when we have conquered the mind, we are not agitated. Otherwise, what will you do? What will you do? Yes. Angry, depressed, disturbed, emotional. So many things go on and on and on in the mind. Right? Shitoshana. Samahita, in cold, ushana, heat. Sukha devkesu. Happiness and distress, honor and dishonor, mana and apamana, yoho. Apaman, you've done my apaman, dishonor. You have insulted me. Apaman. Man means, mana means honor. And apamana means you have dishonored me, you have belittled me. Right? You have belittled me, you've done contrary to my honor. Hare Krishna. For one who has conquered the mind, the super soul is already reached. We read earlier?
This has come on in second chapter.
No, in the previous paragraph. Prabhupada described in depth how when you conquer the mind, what has happened? Yes, you meet Paramatma. Alright, meaning when Paramatma is speaking, you are able to listen. Yeah, listen. For one who has conquered the mind, the super soul is already reached. For he has attained tranquility, meaning when the mind... What's going on? Okay, just settle down. And no talking, no talking. We are trying to access the super soul, right? The Paramatma who is inaccessible, who is invisible, right? Who cannot be heard. And Prabhupada is telling us, right? Revealing to us how we can reach the super soul. So if we don't focus, we don't understand, right? Right? We have to focus, we have to concentrate. So for one who has conquered the mind, the super soul is already reached. For he has attained tranquility, meaning when the mind is pacified, peaceful, then you are able to see the super soul. Otherwise, there are so many voices, right? So many voices. Your own crazy voice, the voice of your neighbor, your family, the newspaper, right? So many voices, meaning the mind has to settle down, has to become tranquil. To such a man, happiness and distress, heat and cold, honor and dishonor are all the same. Equipoised. Samahita. Purport. Actually, every living entity is intended to abide by the dictation of the Supreme Person of Godhead, who is seated in everyone's heart as Paramatma. So the truth is that each and everybody is supposed to obey the dictation of the Super Soul. This is the natural position, but we are not. We are not. When the mind is misled by the external illusory energy, one becomes entangled in material activities. So instead of doing seva for Krishna, I do so many programs, right? I start so many projects. Whoever comes in this material world design a project for himself, right? Instead of checking with Krishna whether it's okay or not, I do my own program, right? Therefore, as soon as one's mind is controlled through one of the yoga systems, one should be considered to have already reached the destination. One has to abide by superior dictation. When one's mind is fixed on the superior nature, he has no alternative but to follow the dictation of the Supreme. The mind must admit some superior dictation and follow it. Now, many people, they come, they read Bhagavad Gita, everywhere they're practicing this, that, they are looking on YouTube, they're reading volumes and volumes of books, they're practicing nothing. Why? Yes. Yeah, the mind is confused. Yeah. Right. Isn't it? So that's why the system of Bhakti Yoga is our saving grace. Because in Bhakti Yoga, you come in Sangha. Alright? So that Sangha will strengthen your mind. Of course, you have to make sure you are in the proper Sangha also, okay? You need to be in strong Sangha, not somebody who's on the border, who's thinking, let me check it out. Then you will also go when he check out, right? So you need to be in proper Sangha, and you should have sufficient intelligence to know who is who. And how will you know? You have to study, right? And then you get pushed. Because the mind is crazy. You already said here. The mind, when the mind is misled by the external illusory energy, one becomes entangled in material activities. Alright? So when you are in Sangha, those who are making an effort, a serious, proper effort to engage in devotional service, they will pull you. Follow? So the mind must admit some what? Superior dictation. Because we are weak. We are inferior. Right? We are inferior. Alright? We are inferior. The jiv is inferior. Actually, matter is inferior. Alright? Matter is inferior and jiv is superior. But jiv in contact with matter becomes inferior. Inferior meaning weak. Weak. And that's why people don't know what to do with their lives. Right? They start getting into bad habits. They commit suicide. Right? So, the effect of controlling the mind is that one automatically follows the dictation of the Paramatma Super. So then you're free. You're free. Because now you are under the control of the superior dictation. Then automatically when Krishna is speaking, automatically you will do. You will do. See, anybody who's intelligent knows when something is against Krishna's instruction, isn't it? When that child is taking drug, does he not know he's doing something wrong? Right? He knows. But he has become weak, or she has become weak. Right? These children, they take drugs until they kill themselves. Right? The effect of controlling the mind is that one automatically follows the dictation of the Paramatma or Super Soul. Because this transcendental position is at once achieved by one who is in Krishna consciousness, the devotee of the Lord is unaffected by the dualities of material existence, namely distress and happiness, cold and heat, etc. This state is practical samadhi, or absorption in the Supreme. Right? So everybody knows how this material world is completely crazy right now, right? The world is on fire. Isn't it? World, and do we think we are going to escape? Do we think we are going to escape? If we are thinking, something is happening in some corner of the world, but it's here, it's going to spread, right? It's going to spread. But if the devotees are absorbed in Krishna consciousness, they are not unnecessarily perturbed. Just heard one lecture Prabhupada is saying, is it that the devotees do not get diseased? No? Devotees don't get disease? No, they get disease, right? So Prabhupada is saying, yes, devotees get diseased, but Krishna protects them. Ordinary people are getting diseased, devotees are also getting diseased. And then he says, but Krishna is protecting the devotee. I just gave you the example right now, right? This lady who's saying, right, his term is over, but by the love of the population and by the law of dharma, he again came up. Follow? So, who walks the path of dharma is protected by dharma. So, definitely we are hot, so we put on the fans. Isn't it? Or am I going to just sit and suffer and you try to listen and I try to speak? Right? You follow common sense? We make the arrangement, right? We kick a fuss and make sure that we are comfortable. Right? Krishna arranges. Right? Krishna makes the arrangement. Right? So meaning that we can go on with our work of serving Krishna irrespective of whether it is raining outside, whether it is drought outside, whether people are criticizing outside, right? We go on with our work of serving Krishna. That's it. All right? This is called samadhi. Samadhi means the mind is focused in one place only. What is that one place? Pleasing Krishna. My entire life is only one-pointed. Ekaha Gurunandana. One-pointed. I want to please Krishna only. Alright? and the world can go on. All right? So this is the platform of liberation. Text 8. Jnana Vijnana Triptatma Kutastho Vijitendriyaha Yukta Ityuchate Yogi Samanasthashma Kanchanaha. I need to read because I have to stop at every, I'm explaining, otherwise double. A person is said to be established in self-realization and is called a yogi or mystic when he is fully satisfied by virtue of acquired knowledge and realization. Such a person is situated in transcendence and is self-controlled. He sees everything, whether it be pebbles, stones, or gold, are the same. All right. Okay.
Purport: book knowledge without realization of the supreme truth is useless. This is stated as follows: अतः श्री कृष्ण नामादि न भवेद ग्राह्यम इंद्रिय से सेवोन्मुखे ही जीवादो स्वयं इव स्फूर्ति अदा. No one can understand the transcendental nature of the name, form, quality, and pastimes of Sri Krishna through his materially contaminated senses. Only when one becomes spiritually saturated by transcendental service to the Lord are the transcendental name, form, quality, and the pastimes of the Lord revealed to him. Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1.2.234. This Bhagavad Gita is the science of Krishna consciousness. No one can become Krishna conscious simply by mundane scholarship. No, one must be fortunate enough to associate with the person who is in pure consciousness. A Krishna conscious person has realized knowledge by the grace of Krishna because he is satisfied with pure devotional service. By realized knowledge, one becomes perfect. By transcendental knowledge, one can remain steady in his convictions. But by mere academic knowledge, one can be easily deluded and confused by apparent contradictions. It is the realized soul who is actually self-controlled because he is surrendered to Krishna. He is transcendental because he has nothing to do with mundane scholarship. For him, mundane scholarship and mental speculation, which may be as good as gold to others, are of no greater value than pebbles or stones.
Okay, so now this is about, we spoke about that earlier, right? You read so many books, you're not able to practice, right? So, effect of self-realization. Book knowledge without realization of the supreme truth is what? Useless. Shramahi eva kevalam. It's useless. So, this is stated as follows, meaning in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. No one can understand the transcendental nature of the name, form, quality, and pastimes, meaning Nam, Rupa, Guna, Leela of Shri Krishna through his materially contaminated senses. All right, meaning my eyes is reading, my mind, my brain is trying to get the impression, my mind trying to figure out who is this Krishna, why does he behave this way, what happened to Krishna. Krishna died, he left a body behind, right? This is what his eyes is seeing, this is what he is hearing. So only when one becomes spiritually saturated How do you become spiritually saturated?
By listening to
Read.
need quality content.
Read. How do you become
Transcendental
spiritually saturated? By transcendental service to the Lord. And this is why Srila Prabhupada has created this organization, in order to give opportunity to the conditioned soul to, yes, to become saturated by transcendental service. Meaning you do so much, you absorb, you're like a sponge, right? You take, so the entire body changes, right? The entire body changes into what? The spiritual body. Yes. The more you engage in devotional service, the more your body becomes spiritualized, right? Yes. And then with that spiritual body, you are able to perceive Krishna, right? Because with your material blunt senses, you cannot see this is Krishna. Only when the body is spiritualized, then you can actually have darshan of the Supreme Lord. Then you can hear his message. You can hear his instructions. Correct? This is what Prabhupada is saying here. Krishna consciousness. No one can become Krishna conscious simply by mundane scholarship. So this same Bhagavad Gita, so many people came, right? They say, okay, let me check what is this Bhagavad Gita, right? They translate the book in their own way, they interpret in their own way. They're known as scholars, right? So we are scholars, we're intellectual, we are scholars. We are able to figure out what this book is all about. And you don't engage in Krishna's service, right? You get a degree, you get a certificate in philosophy. I'm a big scholar, but you don't engage in Krishna's service. Therefore, you remain ignorant despite all your so-called knowledge, right? One must be fortunate enough. So how will you actually be able to understand Bhagavad Gita? I think each and every one of us here, we know very well, unless and until we interacted with some devotee, right? We could never figure out what is Bhagavad Gita, isn't it? Reading by ourselves, we couldn't get it. So, one must be fortunate enough to associate with a person who is in pure consciousness. What is that pure consciousness? What is that pure consciousness? What is that pure consciousness? Devoid of what? Kam, Krodh, Lobha, Moha, Matsarya, Mad. Right? That has to be thrown away. Right? The soul should be devoid of all these ripu, enemies, contamination, unearthers. Right? Should be completely free. And then the heart should have a desire to serve Krishna. This is pure consciousness. By transcendental knowledge, where is it? Yeah, I lost it. By realized knowledge, one becomes perfect. Meaning that I'm reading, now we are giving information. Basically, that's what we are doing. And sometimes, many times, not sometimes, most of the time, people drop out of Gita classes, Bhagavad, because they say, okay, we've heard it all. You already heard. Right? But actually, what happened, it's like 1 millimeter at a time. 1 millimeter at a time, the soul gets purified. 1 millimeter. Because the dust is so thick. Right? Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. Right? So we have to go on hearing, and then it start to penetrate into our dull consciousness, our dumb consciousness. Otherwise, it doesn't penetrate. So, by transcendental knowledge, one can remain steady in his convictions. So, if you actually have realized knowledge, you have seen, then you will remain firm. Nishtha. Nishtha. Meaning your faith will be nishtha. It's not going to waver. I'm no longer checking it out. So my conviction is, yes, serving Krishna is the goal of life. So one can remain steady in his convictions. But by mere academic knowledge, one can be easily deluded and confused by apparent contradictions. You read one book here, and then in the same book, something else is said. And you read one book, you pick up another book, it says something else. Then you listen to somebody's class, that person is saying this, you listen to somebody else's lecture, he or she is saying something different, and you think, which one is true? And you're, using your brain, right? That's what you are doing. You're using your scholarship, your brain. For him, it is the realized soul who is actually self-controlled because he surrendered to Krishna. So what has happened actually? He has taken his mind, that mundane scholar, he has taken his mind and given that mind to different philosophers. That's what he has done. He's allowing his mind to be influenced by different philosophers. And therefore what happened? He becomes bewildered as soon as there is some apparent, Prabhupada says, apparent contradiction. You don't understand why the doctor is saying, this person should take curd and telling that person don't take curd. Right? So the curd is a wonderful food. Right? It's most wonderful. Everybody should take curd. But no, the doctor said don't take curd to this one and take curd to this one. Apparent contradiction, right? And he's coming in the middle of the story and he's using his own, I read in the books, I saw on YouTube, I saw in AI, everywhere curd is very good. Right? They say one thing about AI. You can do everything except don't take your medical advice. Everything you can do. Right? Anyway, I hope nobody will be so foolish. What to do, See, when you're captured, when this, I just saw, this, I said, what is this AI? Everybody's talking about, what is it? Unfortunately, I saw, what is AI? And they say, those who are using AI say it is an illusion. They use this word, it is an illusion of reality. Artificial intelligence, right? And another person, he's saying, it makes you use your brain muscles. Meaning you stop thinking, right? Meaning that if you want to go from here to Andheri, you need your AI map. If you don't have it, you can't move. I'm not joking. It's kids.
Like
the young.
Remember mobile numbers now. Can't do calculations without the calculator.
Yeah, that's me.
We will not be able to frame our sentences without AI.
Anyway, she's a teacher. So it is the realized soul who is actually self-controlled. Understand how the mundane scholar, he has given his intelligence to so many. So he has no intelligence, right? Meaning he has not controlled his intelligence. So that, but somebody who is surrendered to the pure devotee, who is surrendered to Krishna, his mind becomes controlled. He is transcendental because he has nothing to do with mundane scholarship. Mundane scholarship is always speculating, arguing, fighting, rejecting, accepting, right? Uncertain. Nobody knows who has seen, who knows, right? For him, mundane scholarship and mental speculation, which may be as good as gold to others. Gold meaning you're a gold medalist. You get Nobel Prize in philosophy. I don't know what prize you get, right? You get some award, right? In philosophy. So all this speculation is as good as gold for others. But for him, all this mundane speculation is has no greater value than pebbles or stone. Sama lotrasma kanchana. Kanchana means gold. So for the intellectual, all this speculation is like gold. But for the self-realized soul in devotional service, all this is simply pebbles. Lotrasma. I'm not pronouncing properly. Lotra. Lotras, okay, Loshtra. Loshtra and Ashma. Pebbles and stone. You're in jewelry, right? What is it? What? The Sanskrit word. Yeah, I'm asking. Loshtra. Loshtra means pebbles. And Ashma means stone. Not precious stone, okay? Meaning pebbles outside.
It's all the same for him. Stones, pebbles, and gold.
All right.
He sees everything, whether it is pebbles, stones, or gold, as same.
Same. Okay, text 9. Suhrin mitrareya udasinha madhyastha dvesha bandhushu sadhushvapi cha papeshu samabuddhir vishishyate. A person is considered still further advanced when he regards honest well-wishers, affectionate benefactors, the neutral mediators, the envious friends and enemies, the pious and the sinners, all with an equal mind, meaning he's not hating one and liking somebody else. Right? In other words, he's having no hatred towards anybody. So this is to be practiced. This is to be practiced. If you practice calm, krog, lobha, moha, matsarya, mad, if you practice, you will become that. Alright? So here, we have to practice giving up the sadripu. So that's why if we are giving vent to anger, if we don't control that anger at every moment and in every situation, among anybody in any circle, I will manifest my anger, right? So therefore, that anger has to be controlled. How do we control the anger? It is by controlling the mind. And how do we control the mind is what's being discussed here. With realized intelligence. Right? With realized intelligence. And that realized intelligence will come only when we are engaged in devotional service, when we are working for Krishna. Working means you work with your body and you work with your mind. Right? The two goes together. The external body cannot do the work if the mind is not focused. Right? Isn't it? If you are eating and you are watching your mobile, can you do both? You can't. You will have to stop eating and only look. And you say, no, I have to eat. You have to put down the mobile so that you can eat. Correct? So you understand the physical and the mental bodies? It works together. So we have to practice giving up hatred towards others. In other words, practice. Then automatically, so if we find calm, krodh, lobha, moha, matsarya, mud is coming. Let's say, suddenly I feel envious why my friend has and I don't have. It comes in the mind because this is a material mind. He or she has and I don't have. What are we supposed to do? It's an emotion, okay? So it's ripu that has popped up. What are we supposed to do? Yeah, we should chant. What should we do? We should give it up. On the spot. On the spot. On the spot. Is somebody whose mind is controlled. When envy or any emotion is coming, on the spot.
How to give up?
We just described. If you are saturated in devotional service, it's easy. And now using your intelligence, so intelligence is not working, therefore devotional service. So if your entire soul is absorbed in devotional service, what I'm saying that it's not because yourself realize that these ripus don't come. Right? It comes back immediately, you give it up. Right? Why are you able to do it? Because the mind is under control. Because it is the mind that is going out and experiencing those 6 ripus, but the soul, which is superior to matter, grabs it and says, quiet. Right? What's the big deal? This person has this, that person has this. What's the big deal? Right? So, is that not freedom? Right? Is that not freedom?
Yes, it is.
Right? No, you no longer react to your own impetus, your own impulses. You no longer react. Okay. Text 10. Yogi yunjita satataham atmanam rahasi sthitaha ekaki yata chittatma nirasir aparigraha. All right. Somebody read.
Yogi, a transcendentalist, Yunjita must concentrate in Krishna consciousness, satatam constantly, Atmanam himself by body, mind and self, Rahasi in a secluded place, Sthita being situated, Ekaki alone, Rata Chittatma always careful in mind, Nirashrita Nirashi without being attracted by anything else, Aparagrita free from the feeling of possessiveness. Translation: a transcendentalist should always engage his body, mind, and self in relationship with the Supreme. He should live alone in a secluded place and should always carefully control his mind. He should be free from desires and feelings of possessiveness. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Krishna is realized in different degrees of Brahman, Paramatma, and the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Krishna consciousness means concisely to be always engaged in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. By those who are attached to the impersonal Brahman or the localized super soul are also partially Krishna conscious, because impersonal Brahman is the spiritual ray of Krishna and super soul is the all pervading partial expansion of Krishna. Thus the impersonalist and the meditator are also indirectly Krishna conscious. A directly Krishna conscious person is a topmost transcendentalist, because such a devotee knows what is meant by Brahman and Paramatma. Brahman and Paramatma. His knowledge of the absolute truth is perfect, whereas the impersonalist and the meditative yogi are imperfectly Krishna conscious. Nevertheless, all of these are instructed herewith to be constantly engaged in their particular pursuits so that they may come to the highest perfection sooner or later. The first business of a transcendentalist is to keep the mind always on Krishna. One should always think of Krishna and not forget him, even for a moment. Concentration of the mind on the Supreme is called samadhi or trance. In order to concentrate the mind, one should always remain in seclusion and avoid disturbance by external objects. He should be very careful to accept favorable and reject unfavorable conditions that affect his realization. And in perfect determination, he should not hanker after unnecessary material things that entangle him by feelings of possessiveness. All these perfections and precautions are perfectly executed when one is directly in Krishna consciousness, because direct Krishna consciousness means self-abnegation, wherein there is very little chance for material possessiveness. Srila Rupa Goswami characterizes Krishna consciousness in this way. Anaksatas when one is not attached to anything but at the same time accepts everything in relation to Krishna, one is rightly situated above possessiveness. On the other hand, one who rejects everything without knowledge of its relationship to Krishna and is not as complete in his renunciation. Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 2.225-26. A Krishna conscious person well knows that everything belongs to Krishna and thus he is always free from feelings of personal possessiveness. As such, he has no hankering for anything on his own personal account. He knows how to accept things in favor to Krishna consciousness and how to reject things unfavorable to Krishna consciousness. He is always aloof from material things because he is always transcendental and he is always alone. having nothing to do with persons not in Krishna consciousness. Therefore, a person in Krishna consciousness is the perfect yogi.
A transcendentalist should always engage his body, mind, and self in relationship with the Supreme. We have discussed this. 3. He should live alone in a secluded place and should always carefully control his mind. He should be free from desires and feelings of possessiveness. Ekaki yata chitatma nirarsid aparigraha. Krishna is realized in different degrees as Brahman, Paramatma, and the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Meaning this is the path that we tread when we are now discovering Krishna. So in the beginning we start to understand that Krishna is spread everywhere. Everything is his energy. He's present everywhere. This is Brahman, right? Paramatma. So then we also understand that even though he's spread in an impersonal way, but it is also in each and every atom. And he's in our heart. He's localized also. He's not just spread. Like this light is spread everywhere. But then when we look, we see it's coming from one point. Right?
Yes.
So we understand this.
So, Mataji, did you see that the light, Krishna's light is spread everywhere, that is Brahman,
Yeah, Brahman.
and Krishna is the one.
Yeah, the Paramatma is like it's coming from a source.
Yes.
So it's localized, meaning the light now has become localized. It's become focused in one point and therefore it's spreading. All right. But those who are attached, Krishna consciousness means concisely to be always engaged in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. All right. But those who are attached to the impersonal Brahman or the localized super soul are always partial. Yeah. So because the impersonal Brahman is a spiritual ray of Krishna and the super soul is the all-pervading partial expansion of Krishna. Again, I take this, but right in front of us. There's one bulb here, okay? This is an expansion of the powerhouse, okay? There's another one here, same power. There's another one here, same power. So in that way, the super soul is spread, it's expansion. All right, expansion. I'm sure it is the same line that's connected, right? Thus, the impersonalist and the meditator are also indirectly Krishna conscious, meaning that they are not seeing Krishna behind the light, right? So, but indirect. His knowledge of the absolute truth is perfect, whether the impersonalist and the meditative yogi are imperfectly Krishna conscious. Nevertheless, all of these are instructed herewith to be constantly engaged in their particular pursuits so that they may come to the highest perfection sooner or later. So, Prabhupada is saying, doesn't matter. If you are on this path, continue on it, just continue on the path, and gradually you will come to the next destination and you'll come to the next destination. Just go on. Better you on that path than you on the path of materialism, right? And you're backward. One should always, why? The first business, because we're speaking of mind control here. The first business of a transcendentalist is to keep the mind always on Krishna. So that's why we say focus. All right? So if this transcendentalist get deviated, he will fall. Right? if he loses his focus, he will fall. Because the mind is wavering and it is bahushakha, diverted here and there. If he starts looking behind, he'll fall. He has to go on forward. You think, oh, what did I leave behind? There was so much enjoyment behind. What did I leave behind? What is this? This is not so good. This is so much work, so much austerity. You start thinking like that, and we don't know whether we'll reach the destination or not, right? Your minds are eating you up, right? You will lose your balance and you will fall. All right? So, business of a transcendentalist. So, if you have decided to tread the path of yoga, that decision you have to take. Now you're coming, you're hearing, after some time you will decide. Right? All of us who are here, we haven't decided yet whether we want to tread this path or not. We are listening, we're getting the information. Right? But when we decide to tread the path, it's like you get a ticket, okay, I want to go to Haridwar. You have to be determined to reach Haridwar, right? Or you're going to just sit here in Bombay, you automatically will go to Haridwar. No. You have to be determined, you have to be fixed, you have to move. You only hear, this one is saying, that one is saying, that travel agent is saying, you sit and think, and you don't make up your mind. So you don't board your train or plane or whatever, or your car. It doesn't happen. So right now, we are getting information. You have to decide whether you want to tread the path of yoga. All right? So, one should always think of Krishna. So this is for somebody who has decided to be on the path. So what should we do? One should always think of Krishna and not forget him even for a moment. You can't afford to forget him for even a moment. Concentration of the mind of the Supreme is called Samadhi. What is this Samadhi? Sum of what? Yeah, our mind, right? Sama means equipoised, not moving here and there, not flickering. Mind by nature is flickering. Flickering, Now the transcendentalist is making it become steady, Samadhi. So when you come to that point, this is called Samadhi. In order to concentrate the mind, so here, method is given. So for you to be able to concentrate the mind, one should always remain in seclusion and avoid disturbance by external objects. Seclusion meaning you should choose where you live, where you work, where you roam around. This is the meaning of seclusion. Doesn't mean you go in a cave in the Himalayas, right? And what? And avoid disturbance by external objects. Meaning, okay, let me go and eat pani puri here, let me go and try the mawa samosa here, let me try this one, that one. You're roaming around a whole of Bombay, let me try each and every cuisine. Right? Every Sunday you say, today where we are going? Right? If you want to be a yogi, it has its demand. Now I'm putting everything out in front. You'll have to decide. Right? He should be very careful to accept favorable and reject unfavorable conditions that affect his realization. Right? So he should know what is favorable and he should know what is unfavorable. So that you have to learn. Prabhupada is just making the statement. And gradually as you read or we study, you will understand what is favorable and what is unfavorable. And in perfect determination, he should not hanker after unnecessary material things that entangle him by feelings of possessiveness. So even our children, all right, even our children, the greatest attachment are our children. But the children cannot be with us all the time, right? Why? Because we're going to die. We have to leave behind the children. So we have to practice detachment even from my child. So, and in perfect determination, he should not hanker after unnecessary material things that entangle him by feelings of possessiveness. You know, this poor boy, this poor girl is married, he has his own family, but I'm holding on. Right? I'm just holding on, I won't let go. I'm saying the boy, the girl is already married, has his own family. But we are still holding on, this is mine, this is mine, this is mine. Right? Sorry? I'm saying that if you are to prepare for death, you have to let go of feelings of possessiveness towards everything. I say the biggest attachment is possession over others. Right? Possession over others. I think that this person belongs to me. But this is not the Vedic system. Vedic system means after 50 you have to give up. Right? Of course, there's duty on the other side. Alright, there's duty. On the other side, the boy, the girls, the families of the boys and girls, they should take care, right, of the elderly. Right? This is their duty. But he or she who has given birth to you cannot have that feeling of possessiveness. Because if they will be completely dependent on your care, how will they remember Krishna? Hola? Hola? You'll be hating, that's why so much trouble in family life, right? Thinking this boy is mine, this girl is mine, right? The grandchildren are mine. Right? So there's always tussle in family life because of feelings of possessiveness. And in all that chakkar, you forget Krishna at the time of death. Right? All these perfections and precautions, all right? All these perfections and precautions are perfectly executed when one is directly in Krishna consciousness. Because direct Krishna consciousness means self-abnegation, wherein there is very little chance for material possessiveness. If I am in Krishna consciousness, then I will think of my children, not as mine, but I will think of my children as what? Krishna's property. Right? So my attention will be diverted from material possessiveness to Krishna's property. Right? And then we'll say, let me go, I'm leaving this world, let Krishna continue to take care of them, right? Or I'll say, no, I will hold, I will. Do you understand? Because you have to live. Right? So you can go and you say, Krishna, they are in your hands. Follow? This is how you give up. Because Krishna consciousness means self-abnegation, meaning it's not about me, it's about Krishna. When one is not attached to anything, but at the same time access everything in relation to Krishna, spoken of children, okay? Now these children actually, they belong to Krishna. This is the right vision. One is rightly situated above possessiveness. Okay? On the other hand, one who rejects everything without knowledge of its relationship to Krishna is not as complete in his renunciation. He said, okay, these kids, let them go to hell, I have nothing to do with them. Because anyway, they don't belong to me, right? All right? So here, on the other hand, one who rejects everything without knowledge of its relationship to Krishna, whereas the mother is saying, these children belong to Krishna. You follow how it's balanced? So meaning that how this is a science. This is a science. How you can take care of family members in the right spirit, in the right way, so that they don't drag you into their world. Right? At the same time, so you're free. You're free, you can enter Krishna's world without doing any injustice in your duties. Oh, so wonderful. So wonderfully described here. A Krishna conscious person knows well that everything belongs to Krishna, and thus he is always free from feelings of personal possession. As such, he has no hankering for anything on his own personal account. He knows how to accept things in favor of Krishna consciousness and how to reject things unfavorable to Krishna consciousness. Favorable, and see, this is a huge science. You're not going to learn it just by reading this paragraph. All right? You have to practice, you have to learn. See, only attending classes, we're already discussing. Bookish knowledge is useless. Right? We have to practice. He's always aloof from material things because he's always transcendental. And he's always alone, having nothing to do with persons not in Krishna consciousness. So you're living in the world without being with them. All right? Here, he's always alone, having nothing to do with persons not in Krishna consciousness. Therefore, a person in Krishna consciousness is a perfect yogi. All right? So you move in the world. You're with people without being with them. Right? So this is a science. It's a science, and it needs to be understood, practiced, step by step, step by step. It doesn't happen just overnight, by wish, feelings, wish was I wish I could do, right? No. It is work. It's work, actually work. All right. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. Quite intense, no? Yeah. All right. So, yes, that's the yogi. That's the yogi. Yes, yes.
Yogi, not married.
Yogi, not married. One who's married. The bhakti yogi, they apply both to grihasthas and to sannyasis. A bhakti yoga can be practiced by both like Arjun, he's a grihastha, right? But Krishna's teaching.
I'm married.
Yeah, I'm giving you the answer here.
I love to Bhagavad Gita.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying here. You can see Arjuna, he's married, no? But he's engaging in Krishna's service. Right? This is the whole teaching of Bhagavad Gita. Krishna is speaking to Arjuna. Right? Arjuna. And all the Pandavas, all of them are grihasthas. And he's engaging them in his service. Right? So it's a science how to do it. Is it clear? All right. Hare Krishna.